Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to Soul Good. Thank you so much for being here with me. It is a blessing and pleasure to be here with you. Please do trust that when you found yourself here, there are likely to be messages within the contents of this video for you. I would encourage you to use your discernment, take what resonates, leave the rest. Do not make something your story that isn't. I would also encourage you to take this back to God, pray on it, meditate on it, do whatever you do, but trust your own intuition, okay? You are your own guru, and it's important that you trust what you know within you. So something has shifted. Something significant has shifted. Just a little while ago, I was minding my business, doing some things around my house, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, this huge shift in the energy. Regardless of whenever you're finding this is timeless. So it doesn't matter if you're finding it when I'm posting it or, weeks, months, years later, whatever the story may be. But for those that are finding their way here, close in proximity to when I'm posting it, we've just had Mars station direct after a lengthy retrograde stay. So it could be something to do with that. I'm just sharing that because it's what's going on in the cosmos, right? But it doesn't really matter. Something has shifted and I want to know what it is. So let's get into the cards and see what's coming through. I'm very excited to dive into this more deeply and see what we can find out. Father, Mother, Life, Christ, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, what has shifted, please? Thank you. Okay. Wow. All right. So we start off here with the law of rhythm. The universe is guiding you, go with the flow. And then we have the law of manifestation. Let go of trying to control life and allow miracles. So both of these cards are very similar in the message that they're giving. And I feel as though this is bringing forth that this shift has likely taken place because you've been able to go with the flow. You've been able to surrender. You've been able to, loosen your grip a bit. You've been able to say, okay, God, I don't know what we're doing, but we're just going and I'm here for it. And I'm going to trust and I'm just going to go with whatever you're telling me to do. This may be a place that you have found yourself in. I'm very drawn to the fact that we have this woman here who's in this more, let's say, gold colored dress, if you will. And then we come to this woman whose dress is white. So I feel like there's been this purification process going on. I feel like there's been this, okay, thank you. There's been this building a foundation that has allowed you to let go of some of the old ways of being, some of the old beliefs or paradigms that were really influencing how you were moving through the world. You may have been living in this state of fear where you were trying to kind of micromanage things and control things because you've been through some traumatic and painful things in the past and don't want to experience that again. But you may have come to realize that even in those situations, there's something to be gained there. There is, I want to tread lightly because I don't want to make it seem as though I'm invalidating or minimizing anyone's pain or suffering. That's certainly not what I'm trying to do here, but it does feel as though the way that this is coming through is essentially saying that you may be someone who now is able to see the gift even in suffering, even in pain, even in trauma, even in wounding. Okay, that's not to say that you condone it, that you feel good about it, that you would, voluntarily go through it again. I'm not saying that at all, but it is looking at things more from this observer's perspective and being able to recognize that even in those situations, at the very least, you learn something, whether that be about the world, yourself, the people around you, whatever it may be, right? There can be gifts in pain. There can be purpose in pain. Okay? And again, I'm not trying to invalidate anyone's suffering. I want to be very, very clear about that. But it does feel as though this purification process has been happening where you can now look at these things very, very differently. I'm drawn to the fact that there's this more ancient looking structure in the first card, and then there's this more modern cityscape there with the woman with the white dress. And I do feel like that is symbolic of leaving the past behind and looking to the future, right? Leaving the past behind and building upon it. Even if you look in the background here, the pyramids are there in the background of this Law of Manifestation card. She has this incredible, bright, glowing white light around her head as well. Notice the difference there. Okay, it's like building upon the past, allowing that to influence how you move forward, purifying your mind, purifying your thoughts, and being able to move in a different way. It's also incredible that there's this water and physical world meeting one another in this card, which is giving me the balance between, that more spiritual world and the physical world. So there's that. Also at the top of this card, there are some diamonds. And so, this hasn't come without that pressure. This hasn't come without a lot of refinement. I feel your most recent past and what you've been facing, what you've been releasing and going through has not been easy at all. I do not feel like it's been a walk in the park. I do not feel like you've enjoyed yourself. I feel like there's been points where you're like, okay, this isn't fun anymore. Can we just move on with it? Like, can we just keep going? Because I really, I'm not having a good time. I feel like it really has asked you to face some of the deepest parts of yourself, some of the darkest parts of yourself, some of the things that you have repressed and suppressed and shoved down and we're hoping to never have to look at again. And having to face those things head on, like really having to feel them, to alchemize them, to transmute them. Law of transmutation, right? So it has been this having to face yourself. Even if you look at the card here, this is the same being. Okay, so I feel like it's you've had to face yourself and have had to grow through that. You've had to feel things in order to heal them. And again, I don't feel like this has been easy, but it's created this almost like a vortex. Okay, like I feel like however this has unfolded for you, it has put you in a position where you're now reaching higher levels of consciousness at a very fast pace. It feels like you're leveling up very quickly, right? I don't feel like you could have gotten here without transmuting these things, without surrendering, without letting things go, without essentially turning things over to God and saying, okay, I'm just going to trust and be obedient. I'm going to have faith. I'm going to, go through this, and you may have even felt, okay, because there's just these individual beings, except for where, of course, this woman is facing herself, essentially. I feel like you went through this process on your own. Okay, that's not to say that maybe you haven't had other people in your life during this time, right? Maybe you've had some experiences where you've, spent time with other people or what have you. But this process has been a solo act, my friend. It has been one of those things where it's been you and God, you and the angels, you and Christ, but there hasn't been, based on what I'm picking up on here, a lot of physical support through this, because it's had to be something you've had to go through on your own. Again, I don't want to minimize the amount of support you've had from the spiritual realms, because I do wholeheartedly feel that you would probably agree with not being able to make it through this process without God, without Christ, without the angels, whatever it is that you call it, okay? But I feel like you could not have done this like completely 100% on your own with no spiritual foundation, no spiritual roots, no spiritual faith. Like, I just don't feel like that's possible. But it has been, in a very physical sense, you going through this on your own. It's interesting too, because you may have even, let's say, wanted at certain points to talk with other individuals about what you're experiencing, and there could have been something within you that's like, nope, right? Or maybe you even wanted to and you were going to, but like someone talked over you, or something always happened where you were interrupted or something, because there's been this energy of, no, you have to go through this on your own. You have to heal this. You have to work through it. You have to recognize your own power and your own strength. But it's interesting because it's not without God. It is not without leaning into something greater than yourself. So it's a very interesting energy, but I feel like if you know, I feel like it's hard to explain, especially for people who maybe haven't experienced it themselves. But there is this power that is found when you trust in God, when you lean on God. I know that sounds strange, but I hope you're following along with me. All right, let's see. What else? What else about this shift, please? Thank you. Okay. No, that'll be too many. Yeah, right there. Thank you. All right, so we start off with the devil. Interesting. Super fascinating, right? Because so the devil is Capricorn energy, and Capricorn, of course, ruled by Saturn, is very restrictive. It's rigid. And we have, go with the flow. So again, I'm very drawn to this feeling that you may have been someone who was micromanaging the universe. You may have been someone also who found yourself, even if it was only for a, brief period, very entrenched in the physical material world. Maybe you were dealing with some financial things, and so it really drew your attention to the physical world and maybe away from the more spiritual side of things. I'm just getting this something outside of yourself having power over you. Something outside of yourself kind of dominating your reality or dominating your experience. And again, this could even be those more lower egoic drives, which are deeply rooted in our trauma, pain, and wounding, having that power over you, trying to convince you of something, right? And we all know, based on scripture, like the devil is the greatest liar, right? If there's one thing the devil does well, it's lie. And so, there may have been a lot of energies around you trying to convince you that the lie was true, that, you know, for example, if you're someone who's dealt with abandonment or being rejected, right? You could have had a lot of things coming in that were trying to convince you that that's what's true, and trying to draw your focus towards those things. Does that make sense? Because it feels almost as though you may have been experiencing things that were trying to really weigh you down, really trying to kind of trap you even in the physical, in the material, in giving your power. Thank you. Trying to trick you into giving your power away. And maybe for a time, again, maybe you did do that. Seven of Cups. Yeah, I feel like there's this feeling of like pulling you out of your body, right? Trying to pull your emotions in all these different directions. And the wild thing about it is that it feels like it's tried to pull you in all these different directions, and you're kind of like, I don't know where to look. Like, I don't even know where to put my focus. Like, I want to problem solve. I want to, you know, fix things, or, you know, I want to make things better, but I don't even know where to start. That's what this feels like. And perhaps that's what led you to this place where you kind of just threw up your hands and you're like, okay, listen, God, you take it, because I just don't even know what to do at this point. So that could have been the tipping point for you, right? That could have been the straw that broke the camel's back type of thing, where you just, those, you know, more nefarious forces were just bombarding you with all of these things, you know, trying to, again, trap you and just pull you every which direction, so you didn't know up from down, left from right, and just found yourself in this horrible trap of chaos. That's what it feels like. Okay. And again, you may have just found yourself in this place where you're like, okay, Lord, you take it, because I'm like, I can't figure out what's up from down, what's left from right, and I just don't know what to do. And that's kind of like the Seven of Cups, right? It's like having all of these different options, and having so much in front of you that you don't know where to turn. Ooh, it's so tricksy. It's so tricksy how this feels. Like, oh my Lord. Okay, what else do we have? What else? Three of Cups in the reverse. Yeah, this more isolated energy, for sure. For sure. So not only, you guys, I don't know how exactly this has looked for you, but if I were to describe it in a very general way, I feel like you have probably been, as I was saying, someone who has had the devil, if you will, trying to pull your focus in every which direction away from yourself. And not only that, but you've been in this isolated period, because I do feel like God has wanted you to lean on him. God has wanted you to, instead of relying on your own understanding, allow him to lead you through this process. Okay, allow him to walk you out of this darkness, you know, to snip, cut the strings of the devil, if you will. And it's almost as though, you know, God's like, hey, I want to lead you to this place. And the devil's like, but wait a minute, where are you going? Like, we don't want you to go. Right? So it's giving me those vibes of, I know this is going to sound so cliche, but the, you know, devil focusing on what the devil knows God has for good. Does that make sense? Because again, not only has it felt like there's been this chaos that's been inflicted on your life, but you're alone. Okay. And there could have been a lot of people kind of running their mouth behind your back, I'm getting, you know, people trying to, oh my gosh, the easiest way to put this is spiritual warfare, period. Right? Because it's like feeling like you're being bombarded with all of this chaos, all of these things going on. And it just feels like getting attacked from every direction. Lots of people gossiping behind your back, especially if you've decided to pull your energy back, right? Especially if you were someone who maybe was a people pleaser, or someone who, you know, was incredibly giving, and maybe you neglected yourself, and then you started to turn inward and started to focus more of that energy towards you. And these individuals, you know, got upset about that. I feel like that could also be where some of this is coming from, right? Where you started to find your power again and started to focus more on yourself and to love yourself, and pulled your energy back and created some boundaries. And it seems like someone could have been a bit upset about that. But it's also just really emphasizing that this has been an incredible challenge, right? This isn't something that just was a walk in the park, or, you know, you could just flip a switch and boom. No, I feel like this has really demanded a lot from you, especially when it comes to your conviction, your faith, your inner strength, right? Your courage. I feel like there are probably a lot of times where you wanted to give up, where you've been like, I don't know if I can do this. Which brings me back to what I was saying earlier about how it feels as though without some kind of spiritual foundation, without some kind of roots in, you know, God or Christ, the angels, whatever you call it, I just feel like you couldn't have done this on your own, right? You could also be someone who was more, let's say, recently introduced to spiritual warfare. Maybe you're somebody who really didn't believe much in it, or hadn't experienced it, or just didn't realize that that's what was going on. You now may be fully aware that this is happening all the time. Five, yeah, look at this, 5 of Wands. This has been preparing you. It has been preparing you. So the 5 of Wands is a very interesting energy, okay? Because it is one of essentially being in competition within yourself, right? It's this mental jousting, this back and forth within yourself, fighting within yourself. But it is also an energy of preparing you for something else. It is an energy of training, right? So this feels to me as though the process you've been going through has been positioning you to be able to discern what's what. And in order to do that, you have to first recognize it within yourself. And so going through this process where I feel like you have been alchemizing, right? You've been having to face your own shadow and deal with yourself. That has been teaching you to see darkness, to see, you know, evil, to see lies, and then to start to also see it taking place in your external world and in the people around you, and to be able to navigate it. So if you look here, right, there's this they're climbing, and when you look at what they're climbing on, it's like you have to be very aware of where you're putting your feet and where you're putting your hands and how you're moving. And so it's really giving me this energy of being able to discern and to understand how to move in those energies. I hope this is making sense. But again, it has not been easy, because it has been this internal battle with self, right? Having to overcome yourself and the monsters, if you will, within yourself that try to convince you to give up, that try to convince you you can't do it. And the Knight of Swords. Yeah, absolutely. So what this is giving me is, so here's the thing about the Knight of Swords, okay? The Knight of Swords is this very like authoritative, direct kind of energy. I'm actually hearing like beeline energy, because it's like, I know what I want, I know what I have to do to get it, and boom, here I'm off to the races, I'm going. So it's this, I feel, ability to see things for what they are, trust yourself, to be very direct about it, to be, you know, the authority over your own life, the authority over your own mind, and to say, this is what it is, this is how I need to move. And again, it feels as though there's this kind of fast track energy, this leveling up in consciousness very quickly. Knight of Swords is the fastest moving of the knights. And so the way you're going to move from this point forward is not one where you're going to be hesitant about what you know within you. When we talk about the Swords energy, it is about this truth as well. Okay, so this is the truth. This is what I know to be true within me. I can see this. I'm not going to be manipulated by it. And I'm just going to boom, boom, move. That's not to say that you're going to know everything right away. Like the Knight is a little bit more of, let's say, an immature energy, okay? Because it's not the Queen, it's not the King. So there's this, I'm just kind of getting my feet wet energy, okay? There may be a need to kind of watch out for being a little bit impulsive. Or kind of jumping the gun with things, if you will. But I do feel like the whole point is for you to be moving in a much quicker way, being able to discern much more quickly lie from truth, good from bad, you know, dark from light, evil from love. And we need that moving forward, absolutely. So I just feel like things are going to be moving a lot quicker now. A lot quicker. And I feel like you're not going to feel so fresh, right? like it's not the Page of Swords, so you're not going to feel so apprehensive. You're not going to feel so, that's kind of the way it's coming through, is like, you know, you're going to have a little bit more confidence in how you're moving and what you're able to discern and intuit. All right, let's see. What else, please? What other messages about this shift? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's too many. That's too many. Let's try that again. Thank you. Of course. So we have halls of learning, spirit guides, confirmation, great lessons. Can't make it up, right? It's like you've been at school. It's giving me Hogwarts. It's like, right? Like I'm learning how to navigate this space. I'm learning how to really understand what I'm actually experiencing. And I do feel that this is giving confirmation of what you have been experiencing and how things may feel moving forward, because you know more now. There's also this feeling of, I know I'm not alone, which has been orchestrated, right? Because you've been put in a position where you've likely been isolated. And you've had to lean on God. You've had to lean on your angels and Christ, or again, whatever you may refer to it as. It's put you in this position where you've gotten all this confirmation that you certainly have not been doing it alone. Whatever it is for you, however it's looked, I wholeheartedly feel with every fiber of my being that if you're listening to this, you are someone who is fully aware that you could not have done this without God, okay, or whatever you call it. Because there's just this feeling like there's no way I could have made it through that. There's no way. And I do feel like you've learned incredible, incredible, incredible lessons about yourself, about what you're capable of, about your ability to discern. I also feel like you've likely been made more aware of certain signs and synchronicities and things showing up, different puzzle pieces coming together. If things start showing up repeatedly, like, you can't miss it. And even if you try to kind of like, I just feel like it nags at you. This has definitely taught you a lot. Definitely taught you a lot. I feel like there's been a lot of karmic lessons learned, a lot of karmic things that have been brought into balance in some way. We have Akashic records, clearing old stories, releasing past lives, freedom. Hello, right? Let go of trying to control life and allow miracles. Oh, I'm getting some fear because I do feel like there are some of you that were wondering if it would ever happen. Clearing old stories, right? That karmic release, that karmic balance, or things being brought into balance. And I love that we have, the devil here representing that restriction, representing that more rigid way of being. And here we have freedom, because I feel it's been, going through these things that you may have shoved down, however it may have been, and working through them, kind of going back and, reading the story that is you, and finding peace, or at least coming to a space where it does not have the same impact on you as before, right? This transmutation, this alchemization, this ability to turn something painful, to turn something challenging, hurtful, into something purposeful, into something good, into something that you've learned from. I mean, isn't it amazing that we have, halls of learning? And if you look, I don't know if you can tell, but it's like a library. There's tons and tons of books there. And then it's like your book, right? So it's like learning not only of the world, or it's not only learning about the world, but learning about yourself. And it's really kind of bringing things full circle. And sacred inner space, sacral chakra, tenderness, sensuality. Yeah, this is acceptance of who you are. Okay, so it's interesting because there's all these books here, and I feel like for some of you, you would resonate with feeling as though the book you've been reading that is supposed to be you hasn't really been you at all. It has been all of these other stories that people have placed upon you. All of these other stories that people told you this is who you are. People told you this is what life is. People have told you this is how things work. And through this process, you've been able to discover through, transmutation, alchemizing, through healing, through shadow work, and through peeling back all of these layers, you've been able to realize what your story is, or at least to start to understand what your actual story is, who you actually are, without, all of the crap that everyone else has placed upon you. And I feel like it's brought you to this place where you are learning to love you, where you're seeing the beauty in who you are, on a very deep level. I'm not talking about what you look like. I'm not talking about what you sound like, or none of that surface level nonsense. I'm talking about who you are at a very deep level. I feel like God, again, whatever you call it, has been working hardcore to show you that you are worthy of love from you. I feel like this process has also had a lot of focus on God loving you and not leaving you, showing you that you're worthy, trying to help you to see that about yourself, to see the beauty in yourself, to see the value in yourself, that you hold something great within you, something important, something valuable, that you yourself are valuable. Your life is valuable. Your life is meaningful. There's a reason why you are here. And look at all this gold. There's a lot of golden energy. It's discovering your, thank you, your life force. It is discovering the truth of who you are. It is discovering the light within you truly. Because there's a lot of talk about it, right? Spiritual communities, there's all this love and light and da-da-da-da-da, whatever. And people can fall into this like positivity trap. And they can tell themselves, you know, oh, I'm love and light and I'm positive and this and that, but they're not really seeing their light, really, right? They're not actually seeing their own light because they're actually bypassing. And then it's starting to kind of unwrap oneself from all the trauma, pain, suffering, all the wounding, and actually facing those things and dealing with them and recognizing the sacredness of all emotions and learning through having to feel those emotions and through having to alchemize, and then really uncovering this light within you, like truly, not just saying it, but actually experiencing it, actually recognizing it. And then we have here, you know, tenderness as well, which is, it's giving me more of that natural or sacred or divine feminine energy, regardless of whatever your sex may be. It is, you know, being gentle with yourself, being tender and loving and caring and compassionate toward yourself and what you've experienced. Showing up for yourself in ways that others have not. Showing up for yourself in ways that you have not been able to before. It's okay for me to be going through these things. It's okay for me to feel this way. It's okay for me to take time to myself. It's okay for me to hold space for myself. It's okay for me to give myself space. It's okay for me to hold myself, to show up for me. It's okay. And I feel like there are those of you listening who in the past have not felt like it's okay. And I feel like that's why this has been so challenging for you to alchemize these things, because previously no one showed you how to do that. You didn't have the opportunity to do that. You didn't have someone to do it for you, to show you how to do it, to hold space for you, to nurture you, to, you know, give your, to be compassionate and kind towards you. It feels like just moving from one thing to the next without ever being able to give yourself the ability to process what you're experiencing, to be able to sit with yourself and to say, hey, it's okay for you to feel this way. It's okay for you to be confused. It's okay for you to want answers. It's okay. Like all of, I mean, there's so many different ways this can show up, but I feel like you've really had to show up for yourself and reprogram your brain and like take on an entire new way of being in order to get to this space. So this has not come without cost. Okay, so final messages. Final messages, please. Thank you. What do we have? Okay. Let's get one more, please. Thank you. All right, so we have here beautiful, the number 22, blessed. Of course, number 22 could be significant for someone. That could be a birthday. What's interesting about this blessed card is that I feel as though even if you are someone who has experienced a tremendous amount of pain, a tremendous amount of suffering, I feel as though there is this deep knowing there is this deeper feeling of being blessed. I'm being reminded of a quote I heard recently. I was actually listening to a dark journalist, and he shared a quote that he said comes from Rudolf Steiner. I'm paraphrasing here, so forgive me. What he said was, "He who is worthy of being challenged is also worthy of a crown." So I don't know who you are, but someone just felt that very deeply. Maybe the reason why that's coming through is because it is from this point forward that you will see the challenges, the struggle, the pain, the suffering in a very different light. 22 is this master builder number, okay? And so moving forward, the foundation that you're building upon could be one where you recognize that there is potential in pain. Maybe as you move forward, you see those things as a means by which you can evolve, a means by which you can grow and learn. That you can take those things and use them for good. In a lot of different circles, suffering is seen as sacred because it is what allows you to grow. If we didn't suffer, we wouldn't grow. So it is that complicated and that simple. You also have thinker, interesting, the number 44. So you could most certainly be someone who's been seeing repeating twos, maybe specifically 22, or repeating fours, or more specifically 44. You may be someone who, when you experienced something painful or uncomfortable or, something traumatic, you may have perceived that as being something bad, something negative. And it's almost as though instead of leading with this, why me, you may be leading with this, what for? Or for what? For what purpose is this showing up in my life? For what purpose am I experiencing this? For what purpose has this shown up in my life? What am I supposed to be learning here? Right? Instead of, why is this happening to me? And the number 47, go the distance. So I'm getting a few things with this. The first one is, according to the work of Rudolf Steiner, we are meant to be spiritualizing out of matter, or what in the New Age is called ascension. And so, that means that we are meant to be freeing ourselves, if you will, from these physical vessels, from reincarnating, which is what Christ showed us is possible through the resurrection. So it is bringing forth this message of, this is what it's going to take to go the distance, to build your resurrection body, to be able to spiritualize or ascend out of matter as we are intended to do. Okay, because if you look, it's like that cheetah is losing it's like it's losing matter, it's losing its physical body. Okay, and so when we look at like the finish line there, the finish line would be essentially spiritualizing. The finish line, if that's what you want to call it, would be us building our resurrection body and not having to reincarnate. So I'm getting that. I do, however, want to read from the guidebook for this card. But before I do that, I just want to really reiterate that I feel as though this is what it's going to take to get to where we need to be, whatever that looks like, whether it's in this lifetime or another. It's going to take us looking at our experience and being able to discern, being able to really see things in a different light. It's interesting to me as well that each of these 3 Wisdom of the Oracle cards that we have here for the final messages all have stars on them. Every one of them. And that is not the case with every card in this deck. I know you may not be able to see that. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. I apologize for the glare. But each of these 3 cards have those stars on them, and it's reminding me of the star in the tarot, which of course is, I mean, it's healing. It is being inspired or influenced by the divine. It is being guided by something much greater than yourself, having this wisdom, this knowledge, poured upon you. It feels as though you may be looking at life in a very different way, where you feel blessed by Spirit, where you feel as though Spirit is pouring upon you wisdom and knowledge and healing and inspiration, where you're being led by something much greater than yourself, and you're in a position where you think about things differently, you see things differently, and you understand things differently, and so therefore you move differently. And the whole point is to get you to where you need to be. But again, let me grab the guidebook here so that we can read more. And just share what it says here with you. So it says, the essential meanings are endurance, strength, and the long haul. To bring your dream to life, you must think long term and pay no attention to the fluctuations in the current of your experience. Joy and disappointment commingle with opportunities, so there is no need to fear the occasional obstacle. Life is not a sprint. This card is a reminder that you have endurance, strength, and fortitude to carry you all the way. Remain true to yourself. Your authenticity alone will keep you in alignment with the energy of miracles. What is yours will never be withheld from you. Remember that. I mean, so, it's interesting. We have let go of trying to control life and allow miracles there at the top. And we have here, your authenticity alone will keep you in alignment with the energy of miracles, right? So again, a reminder that you don't have to try to control anything, that whatever it is you experience is an opportunity, should you choose to see it that way. So powerful, powerful messages to close this out. This has been absolutely incredible. I pray that something here has provided some kind of confirmation for you, some clarity, or that it's been valuable or helpful for you. Thank you for being here. Take care of your strong, courageous, powerful, growing, learning, evolving soul. Peace be with you and within you, and I hope to see you in another chat. Bye.